City of Irving Building and Standards Commission meeting for March 25th, 2026. We work from a prepared agenda due to the requirements of the Texas Open Meetings Act. All comments to and deliberations by the commission must be strictly limited to matters posted on today's agenda. Anyone wishing to address the commission should ask the moderator for permission to speak on their specified item number. All persons to speak must be sworn in. If you plan to present evidence in any case today, that evidence must remain with city staff and become part of the case matter file. If you need a copy for your records, city staff will be happy to assist you with that need. We limit the time for staff and ownership to 10 minutes to present their case. However, for citizen comments, you are limited to 3 minutes. You may request more time at the end of the 3 minutes. A decision will be made whether or not to grant you additional time. A Spanish translator is available if needed. Mrs. Silva, Senior Administrative Assistant for the Code Enforcement Department, is available. If anyone in the audience plans to speak, would you please stand as you're able and raise your right hand to be sworn in? Do you solemnly swear to or affirm the testimony you're about to present is true and correct? Thank you. Is there anyone that needs Spanish translation? See none. Mrs. Silva, do we have the proper notification on all cases that are to be heard this afternoon?
Yes, the agenda for this meeting was posted in accordance with law at least 72 hours prior to this meeting as certified by the City Secretary's office. A notice of this hearing, as required by law, has been advertised in a newspaper of general circulation in the city at least 10 days prior to this hearing. A copy of the notice is included in the packets provided to the Commission. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Linda Silva, soy secretaria del Departamento de Código de la ciudad de Irving. Soy la traductora por esta tarde, estaré disponible por si alguien necesita ayuda. Gracias.
Thank you. Do we have any citizen comments on the items listed on the agenda?
No citizen comments at this time.
Okay, thank you. We'll address our agenda items on our consent agenda, items 1 and 2 for the approval of the Building and Standards Commission work session minutes and approval of the Building and Standards Commission public hearing minutes of January 28th, 2026. Do I hear a motion to approve those?
I move to approve the minutes without amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Dixon and a motion made by Mr. Baker. Any questions? Let's vote. Motion passes. Okay, we'll begin to hear our individual consideration items 3 through 10. First item is 415 West Pioneer Drive.
Julia Cuellar, Building Programs Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 3, continued case BSCP 2304-0001, 415 West Pioneer Drive. This property is commercially zoned. The photo on the left was taken on May 22, 2023, and the photo on the right reflects the current condition of the property. This slide shows a before photo of the structure. This slide shows the property after the substandard repairs were completed. The property has successfully passed insulation and framing final inspections. Additionally, new electrical wiring has been installed, and the property has passed the electrical final inspection through the inspections department. The remaining items needed are gas meter release, as well as the mechanical, plumbing, and building final inspections. At this time, the structure is no longer considered substandard. With that in mind, staff respectfully request that the Building and Standards Commission order this case to close due to compliance. This concludes my presentation of this case.
Thank you. Does anybody wish to speak on this item? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing of the item, and I'll ask for a motion from the commission.
I move to adopt the staff's recommendation in full.
I have a motion from Mrs. Smith to accept the staff recommendation in full. Do I hear a second?
I second.
I have a second from Mr. Welch. Is there any question or discussion on this item? Hearing none, we'll vote. Motion passes. Next item, 4.
Julia Cuellar, Building Programs Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 4, continued case BSCP 2403-0002, 1016 Compton Avenue. This is a single-family dwelling that is substandard and unfit for human habitation. The initial notice of violation was issued on March 1st, 2024. Staff requested demolition or repair of the property with appropriate permits. All deadlines for compliance were missed. At the July 23, 2024 hearing, a total of 8 findings were adopted, and the owner was ordered to repair by September 23, 2024. On Friday, October 31st, 2025, the Irving Police Department executed a warrant at the property and requested that code enforcement assess its condition. During the inspection, staff observed the following substandard interior conditions: rotted wood and damages around the windows, preventing proper insulation and weatherproofing. Multiple cracks throughout the interior of the home, indicating structural instability with evidence of water intrusion in certain areas. Unsanitary conditions exist at the property, including trash and debris and illegal outside storage on the exterior, and holes allowing exterior elements into the property. A total of 7 hearings have been held. At each subsequent hearing, the property has returned with no demonstrated progress, resulting in the commission levying civil penalties. Furthermore, the condition of the property has continued to deteriorate since the initial hearing. Today marks the 8th time 1016 Compton has been present to the Building and Standards Commission. During this time, staff has made multiple phone calls to the owner of the property, sent multiple emails to the owner, and have completed numerous inspections at the property. The property remains in substandard condition and meets all requirements to be demolished. With that in mind, I will pause now.
Chairman Metters, may I ask a few questions of this witness?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Did the city conduct a due diligence search to identify and locate all owners, mortgagees, lien holders, and other interested persons for this property?
Yes.
Was a search conducted of the real property records of Dallas County, Dallas Central Appraisal District records, records of the Secretary of State for the state of Texas, assumed name records for Dallas County, tax, utility, and other records for the city of Irving?
Yes.
Was notice of this public hearing sent by certified mail, return receipt requested to all owners, mortgagees, and lien holders that you identified in the search, giving them at least 10 days' notice of this hearing?
Yes, we did.
Was notice of this public hearing posted on the front door of the structure at least 10 days in advance of this hearing?
Yes, it was.
Was notice of this public hearing published in a newspaper of general circulation in the city at least 10 days in advance of this hearing?
Yes.
Are documents included in the Commissioner's packet of materials which evidence the persons identified through the city's due diligence search for this property and the notification that was provided?
Yes.
Is this property dilapidated?
Yes.
Is it substandard?
Yes.
Is it unfit for human habitation?
Yes, it is.
Is it a hazard to the public health, safety, and welfare?
Yes.
Does it constitute an urban nuisance?
Yes.
In your opinion, could this property be repaired without substantial reconstruction?
No.
And what is staff's recommendation on this case?
With that in mind, staff respectfully reminds the Commission of the adopted orders and findings and make the following orders. Allow city staff to make inspections no later than April 24, 2026 to complete the repairs or demolition of the structure, and if the structure on the property have not been completely repaired or demolished and the debris removed by April 24, 2026, the Commission authorizes the City of Irving, its agents, or contractors to enter the property, demolish the structure, and remove all debris from the property on or after April 25th, 2026, and place civil penalties up to $1,000 per day for missed deadlines. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Thank you. Does anyone from the audience wish to speak on this item? Hearing none, I will close the public meeting on this item and look for a motion on this on this item, number 4.
Recommend we follow staff recommendations.
A motion by Commissioner Welch that we accept the staff recommendation in full,
And I second that motion.
and a second from Mrs. Smith, or Commissioner Smith. Any questions or deliberations on this item?
I have a question for Officer Claire.
Yes.
One of the pieces of information we have is on February 19th that it was either you or one of the other officers spoke with Melvin Hawkins, who is evidently a tenant currently at this location, non-owner. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
The last piece of information, this is from February 19th, was that this tenant had applied for housing assistance, but was waiting to move out. Has there been any further information on this tenant?
No, there has not been an update on that.
What would the situation of the tenant be if the order to demolish would be proceeded with according to this motion, according to this order?
We did receive information from our legal department that the foreclosure case was closed, so we do expect for that process to be completed and allow us to move forward with demolition.
And at that point, will the tenant be expected to be out of the property?
It would, but I would like to check in with my director or legal counsel.
Okay.
Commissioner Baker, just to clarify real quick, the tenant, provided the tenant is there legally, which we have no information at this point that they're not, we would continue to sort of work with that situation. We're not eager to rush in and demolish a property that someone is in, nor do we intend to do that at this point. We're waiting to see what resolves on that front. Do you have anything you want to add to my strategy there?
Sure, Commissioner Baker. As a commission, you are looking at the condition of the property. Certainly, the owner of the property is the one that we would ideally like to be demolishing or repairing it. The city is reserving the option to do it ourselves should that become necessary if the owner does not comply. The situation with the tenant will certainly be evaluated as the timeline evolves, but the ultimate goal is for compliance with your order, which staff is asking for a repair or demolition. Either one would be acceptable to the city.
Thank you. My main question was just to make sure that the tenant involved, we were aware of the situation and that there would be provisions for, as this proceeded, to make sure that that situation was addressed. So that's all of the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So if the property is not safe for human habitation, how do we have a tenant?
How do I want to make sure I answer this specifically but delicately. The conditions in which we're enforcing our case speak to the fact that the tenants and whoever is providing the housing for the tenant is doing so in a substandard manner. And so the code enforcement department does not have the ability at this stage of the game to dislodge the tenant, if you will, except to continue to enforce against the property owner that's providing the substandard housing, the notices and citations and these actions that we have to address those situations. So we recognize that the living conditions are not the best and certainly not code compliant. And the addressing of living situations is a bit outside the scope of what we can do beyond the actions that we've been taking so far.
I'll ask you a little follow-up question.
Certainly.
So is this if in this situation, would some sort of penalty be in line to incite to either get the property brought in compliance and/or to get the person that is tenant in this property out of the property.
Yeah, civil penalties are something that we've assessed heavily against this property so far. The reason you don't have a civil penalty recommendation with today's action specifically is because of the recent foreclosure actions. And we want to, rather than compound something there that might cause somebody to have further hardship in correcting the issue, seeing what occurs there in the next short period of time, and then knowing that we've already got a sizable civil penalty that's been assessed, and the potential for bringing those in the future again still exists, we feel like it would be best to take a pause at this meeting, see what occurs through the finalization of that foreclosure process, and then continue forward then. Our ultimate action would be to continue to find that and any other tool in our toolbox to incentivize compliance. But we don't feel like right now, at this meeting here today, assessing additional civil penalties and piling on what's already occurred is our best course.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I'll just make the quick comment that I was satisfied by Officer Claire's answer and the city staff's answer. I'm confident in proceeding with voting on this motion myself. All my concerns were addressed.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion to accept the staff recommendation in full. In a second. Motion passes. Item number 5.
Julia Cuellar, Building Program Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 5, Continued Case BSCP 2402-0002, 1129 Missy Lane. This is a single townhome that is substandard and unfit for human habitation. Staff issued the initial notice of violation on February 8th, 2024, requesting demolition or repair of the property with appropriate permits. All deadlines for compliance were missed. The roof of the structure has missing shingles and weather damage. This back area of the structure has a large hole that allows access to animal and exterior elements. And from the back sliding door, there is missing sheetrock off the ceiling. When the case was first opened, it was noted that the copper plumbing pipes were removed by vandals when the structure was unsecure. In April of 2024, the city had the property secured to avoid unauthorized entry. Since that time, the structure has remained secure, but no work has been done in the interior, as seen from the kitchen window, looking exactly the same as 2024. Due to the inability to establish communication with any responsible or interested party, staff will proceed with preparing for and completing the necessary interior work to abate these substandard conditions and restore the townhome to a minimum standard fire-rated safe condition.
Commissioner Metters, may I ask a few questions of this witness?
Please do.
Ms. Cuellar, did the city conduct a due diligence search to identify and locate all owners, mortgagees, and lien holders and other interested persons in this property?
Yes.
Was a search conducted of the real property records of Dallas County, Dallas Central Appraisal District records, records of the Secretary of State for the state of Texas, assumed name records of Dallas County, tax, utility, and other records for the city of Irving?
Yes.
Was notice of this public hearing sent by certified mail, return receipt requested to all owners, mortgagees, and lien holders that you identified in the search, giving them at least 10 days advance notice of this hearing?
Yes.
Was notice of this public hearing posted on the front door of the structure at least 10 days in advance of this hearing?
Yes.
Was notice of this public hearing published in a newspaper of general circulation in the city at least 10 days in advance of this hearing?
Yes, it was.
Are documents included in the Commissioner's packet of materials which evidence the persons identified through the city's due diligence search and the notification that was provided?
Yes, it is.
Is this property dilapidated?
Yes.
Is it substandard?
Yes.
Is it unfit for human habitation?
Yes.
Is it a hazard to the public health, safety, and welfare?
Yes.
Does it constitute an urban nuisance?
Yes.
What is staff's recommendation on this case?
With that in mind, staff respectfully requests that the commission adopt these findings and make the following orders. Staff respectfully requests that this owner be ordered to pay civil penalties in the amount of $15 per each of the remaining 6 violations per day from September 25, 2025 through March 25, 2026, a total of 182 days for a total amount of $16,380 for failure to comply with the Commission's April 23, 2025 order, and order the owner to appear at the September 23, 2026 hearing no later than April 24, 2026, to complete the repairs of the structure, and if the structure on the property have not been completely repaired and the debris removed by April 24, 2026, the Commission authorizes the City of Irving, its agents or contractors to enter the property, repair the structure, and remove all debris from the property on or after April 25th, 2026, and place civil penalties up to $1,000 per day for missed deadlines. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Thank you. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing on this item, and I'll entertain a motion for item 5.
Recommend we follow the motion to staff.
Okay, I have a motion to accept the staff recommendation.
I second that motion.
Have a second from Commissioner Smith. Open it up for discussion or deliberation.
I have a question for council. Since this is a townhome, is demolition a reasonable pathway forward for the structure?
Probably not, but staff also indicated their intention was to proceed, if they got to that point, with taking corrective action rather than demolition.
And in fact, the order presented by staff and requested is only for repair. It is not a repair or demolition order. It is simply for repair.
If you look at item number 2 of the order, it contains the language to enter the property, demolish the structure, and remove all debris from the property as an option. My question is, would it be reasonable to remove that language from this order? If that's the case, I would comment that my opinion would be that it might be appropriate to withdraw the motion and introduce a new motion to introduce an amended order so that number 2 removes the language of demolish the structure.
Commissioner Baker, could you look at, make sure you're on item number 5?
Let me look at this.
Page
5.
229.
It should have in that paragraph 1129, Missy Lane.
I don't see a demolition request.
You're right, that was my mistake. I was looking at the order for the previous property.
Okay, thank
All of my commentary is null.
Well, it's actually an excellent question. It was something we asked, if you recall, we asked during our
Although
work.
in principle, the question of whether or not demolition of a townhome is a decent question to ask, but not pertinent to this case.
Yeah, okay, thank you very much. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, we'll close the discussion and ask for a vote. Motion passes. Item number 6.
Julia Cuellar, Buildings Programs Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 6, continued case BSCP 2302-0004, 910 Oakland Drive. This is a single-family dwelling that is substandard and unfit for human habitation. A fire occurred March 23, 2022. The fire originated outside near a homemade wooden doghouse that was located in the backyard. On April 10, 2025, staff posted a notice of hearing letter on the property. On this notice is listed the observed violations that the owner or a representative present any evidence to the commission and the requirement to submit proof of the scope of work that may be required to comply with the City of Irving Code and the time it will take to reasonably perform the work. Before the first hearing on April 23, 2025, the owner's daughter, Ms. Guinea, made repairs to the property and showed the following progress. She repaired the backside of the main structure, cleaned up trash and outside storage. The two bottom pictures were provided by Ms. Guinea at the April 23, 2025 hearing. Repaired the broken window with the screen and the broken siding at the bottom of the box bay window, and painted the property and replaced the decking and roof with a permit. The shed located behind the main structure was also damaged by the fire incident. Ms. Guinea provided this picture showing the fire damage on the shed. She also provided this picture showing the repair to the exterior wall and mentioned that the roof will get taken down and redone. At the first hearing, April 23, 2025, the property was ordered to be repaired or demolished by June 22, 2025, due to the 6 findings of a substandard structure, with the City of Irving having the authority to demolish on or after June 23, 2025. At the July 23, 2025 hearing, Ms. Gunia had begun interior repairs and found termites and damaged studs that needed to be replaced. These pictures were provided by Ms. Gunia and show removed sheetrock, holes on walls and ceiling, and new sheetrock. The scope of how much the termites have damaged is uncertain. From July to the September 24, 2025 hearing, there was not any progress on the property, and multiple communication attempts to obtain updates was unsuccessful. At the September 24, 2025 hearing, the Commission assessed civil penalties for 3 visible violations in the total amount of $1,410 for failure to completely repair or demolish the structure, with an order for the property owner to make the property available for inspection by city staff to make continuous and ongoing interior and exterior inspections. Since then, I reached out to Ms. Gunia on multiple occasions to try and schedule an interior inspection to confirm that some of the findings had been remedied, and asked for status on a loan, but was unsuccessful. The day before the hearing, Ms. Gunia reached out to me at the property, and we were able to see the following. She had continued to place new sheetrock throughout the house. Here's a before and after picture of the same corner of the bedroom. There is another side of the bedroom where sheetrock had been replaced on the walls and ceiling. She prepped up the hole in the ceiling for the placement of new sheetrock. Further investigation in the bathroom showed more rotted wood. The wood rot extends to the wall surrounding the sink. The door frame contains rotted wood, as seen on the picture on the left, and several areas throughout the house are still missing sheetrock, as seen on the picture on the right. We noted the backside of the structure is missing soffits. This entire area has exposed plumbing, electrical, and structural components exposed to the elements. The backyard deck was also dilapidated and covered with loose, unstable plywood. And the dilapidated fence requires repair or replacement through the inspections department. During the inspection, staff observed multiple accessory structures in the backyard with violations, adding 2 additional findings to the order. In total, 7 violations exist as of the November 18, 2025 interior and exterior inspection. At the November 19, 2025 hearing, the order was to appear January 28, 2026 to determine compliance. No progress was made. Access was not provided to complete an interior inspection, and there was no update on the probate process. At the January 28, 2026 hearing, the Commission assessed civil penalties for 7 visible violations in the total amount of $8,820 for failure to completely repair or demolish the structure, with an order to appear at today's hearing. The order was posted on the property and to the Dallas County site. Since then, I reached out to Ms. Gunia on multiple occasions to try and schedule an interior inspection to confirm that some of the findings had been remedied, and asked for status on a loan, but was unsuccessful until March 5th. She agreed to meet on March 11th. Ms. Gunia started working on the backyard porch. A lot of outside storage and exposed electrical and plumbing still remain. The interior of the property remains the same. As you can see, the lack of progress in the following pictures. There has not been significant progress at the property. When I asked Ms. Gunia on an update on the probate, she said she has not heard back from anyone. Staff respectfully requests that the owner be ordered to appear at the September 24, 2025 hearing. This concludes staff's presentation at this time.
Thank you. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item?
Good afternoon. Let me start out by saying I have acquired, to put the property in my name, filing a affidavit of heirship. So that has been successfully recorded in Dallas County. I was not able to get to the property and do much work, which I have done in stabilizing the back part of the house to be able to gain in access and bring tools in, things of that nature. Also, I have decided to go ahead and sell the property now that I've got the property in my name, and have potential buyers for the house as well. But I would like to ask for forgiveness for missing the last meeting because of the weather. I live in Denton, and it's very hard for me to get this way, especially when there's ice on the roads, and I don't want to risk that or my safety. So I'm asking for forgiveness for the $8,200 that is being requested for me for the property. I'm trying my best. I'm the only person handling the property. I'm the only person financially doing anything towards the property, and it's draining, very draining. And I've got my full-time job. I'd work side jobs for extra money. My best, solution is to sell the property, and that's what my attempt is to do at this point. So, yeah, that's all I have.
Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Junia?
Gunya, yes.
Sorry, I didn't ask you to state your name.
No, that's fine.
Yes, do you have specific clients for the property?
I have two, yes, that have, been putting in bids for the property. It's just I've never done this before, and so I'm just kind of, with everything else I've got going on, I had a workman's comp issue at work. I was injured, so I'm going through that as well. I've been dealing with a lot of different situations in my life. So I'm juggling all this. Yeah, I've got two, and I'm just trying to get back to them and handle this the way I need to, or do what I need to do before the house gets sold, or the property gets sold. So, like I said, it's all new to me.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion on this item.
I move that we adopt the staff's recommendation in full.
Have a motion from Commissioner Smith to adopt the staff recommendations full. Do I have a second?
A second.
Have a second from Commissioner Welch. Any discussion or deliberations on this item? Does our staff, our city attorney have any insight on this item as far as any sale or anything like that?
Well, once again, I'm not a city attorney, but I do have, the request before you today intends to provide the time necessary to complete some of the maneuvers that are occurring with the property. And so that's why we're not seeking any action other than to request the item come back to the July meeting. And that should be ample time, we think, to allow for the sale maneuvers or legal maneuvers that might be underway to complete.
And to more specifically answer that, no. The city is not aware of any of those details right now.
So our next meeting is in July, or is it before that?
May 27th meeting.
We have a May meeting?
No, our next meeting is in May. As staff looked at this, because of the timing involved in some of the complications there, we thought rather than continue to come back, and as she mentioned, she travels down from Denton from the meeting, we felt it appropriate to schedule it for the July meeting and perhaps have some resolution by then.
Okay, thank you for
And
the
as always,
clarification.
it's the commission's prerogative to amend that order
Right.
and ask for progress reports. It's up to you all what you think is appropriate.
I think we've seen a lot of progress from the owner, although we have starts and stops and whatnot, but then, there's definitely been some things to look at, and, we certainly want to see something brought into compliance, or something taken care of. So any other discussion? Okay, I'll close our discussion and we'll take a vote. Motion passes. Next item, 7.
Ricardo Miranda, Code Enforcement Specialist, here to present Agenda Item 7, continued case 2025-1482-BSCP, 3833 Finley Road. This is a single-family structure. At the time of the original notice of violation, the property was substandard and unfit for human habitation. The property was first presented to the Commission on May 28, 2025. Since that time, the owner has worked with the Inspections Department to obtain all necessary permits. The foundation permit was finalized on August 21, 2025. An alternation renovation permit was finalized on March 3, 2026. The unsanitary conditions that existed at the property have been removed. A new garage door was installed at the property. Full renovations have been completed, as you can see on the following pictures. With that in mind, staff respectfully request that the Building and Standards Commission orders this case closed due to compliance. This concludes staff presentation at this time.
Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public session and we'll take a motion on this item number 7.
I move to accept staff recommendation in full.
Have a motion from Commissioner Baker to accept staff recommendation in full.
I second that motion.
Have a second from Commissioner Smith. Any discussion or deliberation on this item? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. Motion passes.
Next item, item 8. Julia Cuellar, Building Programs Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 8, continued case BSCP 2402-0001, 1509 South Irving Heights Road. This is a single-family residential structure. At the time of the original notice of violation, the property was substandard and unfit for human habitation. This property was first presented to the Building and Standards Commission on July 23, 2025. Since that time, significant progress has been made at the property. On March 21, 2025, a foundation repair permit was issued and finalized April 11, 2025. A alteration renovation permit was issued on August 8, 2025. This permit allows the owner to replace windows, sheetrock, insulation, siding, and subfloors. Framing will be inspected and repairs to the framing can be completed as needed. Windows have been replaced at the property. Contractors have started interior repairs at the property, including framing, flooring, and sheetrock replacement. New plumbing has been installed at the property. The rotted deck in the rear of the property has been removed. The owners have also maintained the property free of high weeds and litter. The pool area is secured from unauthorized entry. Owners continue to maintain the pool area to prevent standing water. The property has been maintained and progress has occurred in the last months, including removing the old roof, completing sheathing, and continuing on the interior and plumbing. With that in mind, staff respectfully request that the commission order the owner to appear at the May 27, 2026 hearing to update the commission. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item?
Hello, I am Stephanie Murado, daughter of the owner of the property. We just want to say we agree with the staff recommendation to return on 5/27/2026 and review the progress at that time.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything further?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Does anybody else wish to speak on this item? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and move to take a motion on item number 8.
I move to accept the staff's recommendation in full.
I have a motion from Commissioner Smith to accept staff recommendation in full. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
I hear a second from Commissioner Welch. I'll open it for any discussion or deliberation. Hearing none, we'll close, take a vote. Item passes. Next item, number 9.
Julia Cuellar, Programs Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 9, Continued Case, BSCP 2407-0001, 1609 Dale Place. This is a residential property that's substandard and unfit for human habitation. The property was first presented to the Commission on September 24, 2025. Since that time, no progress has been made at the property. Staff has not had an interior access to the property since August 4th, 2025. The owner has canceled interior inspections multiple times due to health concerns. The owner has failed to find a buyer and has failed to clean the property or make repairs to the substandard conditions. Damages to the roof can be seen from the public right-of-way. The hole in the roof has led to additional damages throughout the interior of the structure. Sheetrock and insulation has been compromised due to the elements. Additional holes in the kitchen ceiling has parts that may fall and injure a person. There exist conditions caused by accumulations of refuse, vegetation, or other matter that create breeding and living places for insects and rodents. Weeds, rubbish, garbage, and other public nuisance exist in the backyard of the property still remain. Staff has reached out to the 3 utility companies to disconnect services to move forward with demolition, and a demo permit has been obtained by the city's demolition contractor. With that in mind, staff respectfully requests that the Commission order the owner to appear at the May 27, 2026 hearing to update the Commission. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item? Could you state your name?
My name is John Philip Reeves. I'm the owner.
Okay.
First of all, I don't want to get emotional. I have had a lot of health. I have not met Ms. Cuellar. I want to thank you all for your leniency and kindness back in September when I was parked out here. I had been working with Mr. Peoples, and my understanding was that until I talked to you a couple of days ago, I apologize. I know that your legal said not to. I had not met her, and got a phone call and called her back the next day. I do have contracts. I have made a lot of progress. I sent her quite a few. Miss Manning, Sabrina Manning, was at the September meeting and walked me out. I have had a lot of health problems. chemotherapy every week and throughout Christmas, New Year's, and had a knee injection, had some biopsies on my neck. My brother had passed away. I don't want to go into, I mean, I'm not giving these as excuses. There wasn't a day that didn't go by that I did not, I do have contracts on the property, did have contracts immediately back in January. I want to apologize for not being here in January and meeting Mr. Peoples, because I live in Wise County in Decatur and was coming every week Wednesdays for the chemotherapy. And then in September, I managed to get chemo done, go to the AIDS clinic, do all this other stuff, and still make it over here by 3. And unfortunately, my car would not start when I left, and I wasn't going to accept help from her. She was already too nice, so I didn't get a chance to go put a for sale sign, but I have made absolutely sure that that house is secure, that no one is in danger. There's leaves, and there's some leaves on the roof, but I'm a little heavy set. I've got ladders there. My emails to her this morning, I don't know if you got them or not. If she can't respond, I'm sorry, but she asked me on the contract. There was a Michael King that I had been approaching me last summer. He was very aggressive. When I met her, I told her what progress I'd made. I'd mentioned all these other investors, and I want to sell the property. I have a contract that I signed with her. They may not want to keep it, but it's already gone to title company with somebody. I don't know. I thought it was with her, but they sent me a message at 1. The snow and ice in Decatur, I couldn't even get my truck to move, couldn't get the doors open. On that Tuesday, I started moving my appointments back to Tuesday because I found out that my oncologist is not there on Wednesday. So I was going through for infusions, labs. Like I said, I'm HIV positive. I'm not dying, but with the overwhelming issues with my brother, and as I've explained with Miss Manning and other people, I don't like to go over there at night because it is a danger. You saw what the pictures are inside. There's a $700 bulletproof door. There are brand new keys to the house and a lockbox. Miss Manning has the code. I have the code. The other person with the contract had told me that he wanted to renegotiate the sales price. He'd given me $162,000 in a contract on February 16th or something. You know, I diligently, I spoke with her yesterday. I called Miss Manning. I contacted, I don't want to go over the 3 minutes or anything like that, but my primary concern is I'm so grateful that y'all hadn't imposed punitive damages, because apparently the notification did go to the mortgage holder, Resolution Finance. I do owe $89,000 in a tax thing, and the property is, the land itself is the largest, I know this is irrelevant, but it's 14,000 square feet. My neighbors have tiny little yards, and that thing has a football field, and it branches out, so that's the reason that the front is so secure. After the meeting and during the ice storm, she asked if they would do a contract, and I said, I can't meet you there, I'm exhausted. She goes, well, I'll just go by there. And I was so terrified, you know, because your legal deal is that I don't want it to be and this was during the ice storm. She's the one that told me what happened at the meeting. I'm not trying to get her in trouble, but she's been very, very kind. And I don't want to start crying, you know, out of the way here. I haven't left my house, and I told her, I said, I don't know if it's depression, it's gain weight, the injuries. Mr. Blake Peoples has been so kind, and I said, I want to meet you there. What she told me, which is hearsay, I guess, is that y'all were concerned about the security of the property. That was my huge concern last year, because it was multiple times where I would go up to the house and be out there, and Mr. Demarest, Dale was previous to Dale, and he can probably attest what a loony bins I was when I walk in and somebody's in the property. And he goes, oh, we're done right now. So there's been various, I'm not trying to put him, and I'm not trying to go backwards all the way, but I moved there in February of 2001, and I bought all 3 of those houses. I moved to Dale Place 25 years ago. I knew every single owner, original owner. I'm not contesting that that house is probably better off demolished because it's only 800 square feet. It's a small 2-bedroom, 1 bath. That debris that was in there, that front room had only been a guest room. Irene Taylor, she was my friend. You know, we prearranged the sale. You know, she was born in 1924. This house had a lot of emotional attachment. Those fences and things like that in the back. But when I started getting this thrombocytopenia and COVID, I started having really mean tenants just showing up, and I had no idea. And then my biggest priority is not having anybody injured, and the fact that I want to sell the place. So I'd had contracts coming in back before the September meeting. And then I started telling them, I said, look, send a contract, do the DocuSign. And as I sent her screenshots of all the emails and everything. So Mr. King had sent that. Ms. Manning had sent a contract back in February along with several other people. And I said, I need this to be done as quickly as possible to avoid any kind of punitive damages. I'm not coming out there at 9 o'clock at night. Mr. King was like, as soon as he sent the contract, he goes, let's get this done before 5. And I'm looking at my phone, I said, I don't know where you're at, but it's like 6 o'clock and it's already dark. And this is back, in January or February. And I said, I'm not. And then he was very aggressive with me, and with my health concerns, I'm not looking for any kind of confrontation. And I'm not trying to bypass any. I apologize. It was a lot. I had a panic attack like this yesterday when I spoke with her because I did not think I could make it. I made it beautifully. I showed up 2 hours early. I stopped at the funeral home, picked up my brother. He's in the car, and had been communicating with Miss Manning, forwarding the different things. At 1 o'clock, while I was sitting out here, I got the title search. There's already been 3 title companies. I tried to show it it's on my phone. I can express all this. Whatever happened in January, Lou Savala forwarded something to the mortgage holder, and that violates all the mortgage for all of my properties. That tax lien is at $89,000. That property will sustain that amount, and I don't have any source of income to be paying the mortgage after May. So my thing was to sell it in 30 days or less. Ms. Manning suggested getting a realtor, and I said, I'm not letting people go in there. I didn't let her go in there. And while she was on the phone with me and her children were in the car, she goes, "Wah!" And this was right after that ice storm. And that front of Dale Place faces north, so that whole porch was iced over. And I didn't make it to the meeting. She wanted to see it. And I literally, like in tears, and I said, well, do what you need to do. She sent me an offer for $140. I said, look, I'm getting people telling me, $160, $180, being very aggressive. And then when it came down to pen to paper and
1 minute remaining.
I'm so sorry. My hope is to have it sold within 30 days, and it is very secure. No one is in danger of being inside. Now, Mr. King did have a contractor come out there. There is a lockbox. He did go inside at his own accord. They saw the roof. Unfortunately, there's a lot of leaves from the tree, and there's a board up there. There's not a hole in the front where anybody can see it. Somebody's throwing a board over there, and that, I'm all for a demolition, but not in a week. She mentioned that it could be this week. I'd like to retrieve some of the property. I have no family or help, but my brother's son messaged me a couple of weeks ago that he wants to come here. He was supposed to be here by now. He said that he got an eye exam. I don't want to keep rambling on.
Your time's expired.
Okay, I apologize. I'm just hoping that y'all can delay this order for demolition maybe 30 days, because practically a contractor could come in. I apologize. I thank y'all so much for your time. I get lightheaded and dizzy, and then I just start rambling, so I apologize.
Thank you for coming today. Does anybody else wish to speak on this item?
My name is Sabrina Manning, and I'm just speaking on his behalf as far as I have the property under contract now. It was signed and submitted yesterday to Capital Title of Texas. So we are waiting, well, we're in the process now of waiting for title work to be done, and that way I can start at the same time with maybe getting the permits, getting contractors out there so we can see what's going on. I know he had a previous buyer, but something happened with that within the last couple of days. So now I'm the new buyer, and we plan on moving forward.
Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak on this item? I move that we make the public session closed and open and ask for a motion on this item.
I move we adopt the staff's recommendation in full.
I have a motion from Commissioner Smith to accept the staff recommendation in full.
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Dixon. Any discussion or deliberation on this item? Mrs. Cuellar, is there anything that you would like to add? I think, okay. Does our city staff have any other information to enlighten us on with this?
I do have one question. So is your plan to remodel or demo the property?
It's 800 square feet. It sits on a 14,000 square foot lot. The contractor before and other people said that.
Could you come forward and speak?
I'm sorry.
It's for you.
Okay, the question was for me. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Seeing as you are the new buyer.
So yes, I don't have a plan yet on whether or not I'm going to demo. Like I said, I just got the property under contract yesterday and submitted to title. So I haven't even sent contractors out there to even get the word that, hey, this property is salvageable or we need to demolish it. But either way, if it needs to be demolished, yes, we'll demolish it, rebuild. I saw the property briefly. I really don't think it's a demo. It can be restored. But I'll wait for my contractors to make that final say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a question for Mr. Diller. Mr. Diller, on this particular item, if the property sells, I guess we're taking action on the property itself rather, I mean, kind of educate us here a little bit on that process as far as our action goes here today.
Yeah, so with a demo permit having been pulled and a contractor assigned, the timing is swift here. The city's imminently going to take action to demo the property. But the one thing that we would do in this situation is connect with Ms. Manning, obtain the paperwork that they have to document the fact that a sale is in progress, and then make a plan to attempt to work with the new buyer to bring the property into compliance. You know, it's not our intent to act ahead of correction that might be imminent itself and coming, but we also do not want to forestall correction of the violations that have long existed there, if that helps at all.
And under that reason, that's why the recommendation is for a return, because we want that action.
I was going to ask, thank you for clarifying that, Mr. Demers. So the action is to appear at May, correct? Okay. Any other questions or deliberation on this item? Okay, I'll move it to a vote. Motion passes. Item number 10. Boy, y'all made us work today.
Julia Cuellar, Buildings Programs Coordinator, here to present Agenda Item 10, continued case 2025-4724, BSCP, 1215 West Shady Grove Road. This is a commercial property that was substandard and unfit for human habitation. An interior inspection of the property was conducted August 4th, 2025. During that initial inspection, staff observed multiple substandard violations. At the first hearing, November 19th, 2025, the property was ordered to be demolished in 30 days by December 19th, 2025, due to the 6 existing substandard structure violations. On January 19th, 2026, the owners provided staff with a copy of the commercial demolition bid for the property. According to the bid, the demolition was scheduled for February 12th, 2026. On February 17th, 2026, a demolition permit was obtained. On February 18th, 2026, demolition began and ceased a few days later. According to the Building and Standards Commission order, the property was ordered to be demolished, including the removal of all improvements to ground level, including but not limited to foundations, porches, walks, driveways, concrete slabs, and fences and steps which have elements above grade. The property must be brought to grade clean in fashion not to allow for ponding of water, with a silt fence erected until vegetation has been established to prevent erosion. The property concrete, ballards, sign, and private telephone poles still remain on the property. The manner in which the property has been left allows for the accumulation of water, creating ponding water. On March 3rd, 2026, staff asked the owner to remove the remaining items to be in compliance of the order. Mr. Hussein said he would review the order and see his options. As of March 24, 2026, the property remains in violation of the order. With that in mind, staff respectfully request that the commission order the owners to appear at the May 27, 2026 hearing to determine the compliance with the November 19, 2025 order. This concludes my presentation at this time.
Thank you. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak on this item? Could you state your name for the record?
Yes. Mustafa Hussein, property manager. Oh, all right. I would like to request that the Building and Standards Committee at least rescind the request for the removal of the parking lot for this property, specifically the parking lot. We do not believe it needs to be removed, and more so in the way that this is developed right as we kind of hit the finish line for this. It feels a bit unprofessional and unfair as well. From the very beginning of this entire experience, there's never been any mention of needing to remove this parking lot. Not when we pulled the initial demolition permit, not when I submitted the full scope of work for proposals to Mr. Peoples, displaying the full scope of work, when I wrote out the scope of work on the demolition permit for the final building removal. It was never mentioned that the parking lot needed to be removed up until the day of the demolition, when I'm there on the job site and I get a call about this parking lot. Such an endeavor would also cost us about $5 per square foot to remove and up to $10 to re-pour. So we tried to file a claim with insurance, but based on the structural engineering report, they stated that the building was structurally sound. Now, the city had ordered this as a demolition rather than a renovation based on not being able to renovate without any major reconstruction. There wasn't any structural engineering report provided from your end, but the structural engineering report says that the building was fine, so I believe it could have been remodeled without major reconstruction. But we abided by the city request because we didn't really have any other choice. But now, as we have a plan to rebuild the property, Mr. Wade McLaurin, the development coordinator, has the most recent drawings that he believes should be able to go all the way through the building permit process. We acquired a brand new survey for the property so that we can submit the building permit. And the building would be located on the back half of the property, where it currently is just grass and dirt, right? So that, not a problem. We can account for that. We can make that into concrete. But the front half would function as a parking lot. So I don't believe it's reasonable to remove the parking lot when, in the very near future, when we do redevelop, we will be using it as a parking lot. It would be a massive financial burden to remove it when just a little while later you're going to rebuild it. It would be an incredible burden. So that's what I would like for y'all to reconsider.
Does anyone else wish to speak on this item?
Or if you have any questions or would like any clarifications?
We'll ask questions during our deliberations on the item.
Okay.
My name is Riaz Hussain, the owner of the property. I own this property for last 25 years. It was running as a restaurant, Mr. Jim Pizza. We always follow the rules the city has given to us. In mid of 2025, the Mr. Jim Pizza left, the property became vacant. And obviously, when the property being vacant, the tenant left some ceiling, like I saw in the pictures, it was dirty and all that. So when city told us to remove the building, this is a substandard building, we asked our insurance to cover the loss because city wanted us to demolish that. The insurance company hired a professional engineer firm to evaluate the property, which they came up with this 39 pages report saying this property is a structurally sound, it does not need to demolish. But because of this, we were so far into the deep of the city situation, and the insurance was doing their works, so we have to obey the city law because the council says that we have to demolish. So we demolished 1,200 square foot building, which we shouldn't demolish because it was just needed minor cleaning and minor fixing, but we have to demolish the whole thing. Nowadays, this type of building, if we have to rebuild, it's cost me $240,000. I have the insurance, they deny the claim saying we are not going to pay you because this was not supposed to demolish. So we demolished that building based on what city said. And the engineering report says that should not be demolished. So I am here in the dilemma of, I lost $240,000 to rebuild it, and we have to spend at least $30,000-$40,000 to demolish the building. But we done everything. Now we are in the process of rebuilding. We already submit some documentation to the city, and we are really willing to go ahead and move forward with the redevelop the property, which is we're going to put at least 4,000 square foot building. We'll bring a few new tenants, so we'll have a clean and nice property. But we want to salvage this parking lot because parking lot, like my property manager says, costs at least $4 to remove it, and then it takes $10 to rebuild the whole parking lot. So parking lot is not there's a safety issue. There's a clean parking lot, and we just, like I said, we want to move fast as we can to rebuild things. It's just because of how the city is going to take the time to approve our permit to rebuild it. So I request city to please not burden us more when we really thinking that we can save some money and use the same parking lot, and then we will rebuild the building. And that's my request to the city. And then in terms of pounding of water, right now there's not a big pound where the water can stand, but we can put some mud, some dirt there, so the water won't be standing over there. The rest of the parking is just a concrete. So I request cities to help us out because we already in a situation where we think that we lost $240,000 because of this city wanted us to remove this building, and we did it anyway. And the engineering report saying this building should not be removed because this was good standing structurally. So that's what my request is to the city.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak on this item? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public comments. Do I hear a motion on this item? I'll ask again, do I hear a motion on this item?
Yeah, I recommend we follow the staff recommendation.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Welch to accept the staff recommendation. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Commissioner Dixon. I'll open it for discussion and deliberation.
I have a question for code enforcement, either Mr. Diller or Mr. Demarest. The order given included the language, the property must be brought to grade clean. Does that language include the removal of flat slab parking lot?
Yes, it does. It specifically calls out flat work and would include that. And that's taken from the city's Chapter 8 standards for the demolition of a property and the final of a demolition permit through the inspections department.
So I have a question about when was your engineering report done?
It was done on the
January 21st, 2026.
and we mailed this report to the court enforcement at the time.
It was emailed.
So when was it demoed?
February 27th, I believe, something like that. And yeah, I mean, if you want to say that in the original demolition order that verbiage may have been used, however, since last May, when this process first began, and through every single email communication, phone call, message, anything, it was never mentioned that the parking lot itself, to me, just at any point, would need to be removed. When I submitted the full scope of work, all my proposals to Mr. Peoples regionally, he should have mentioned something if that needed to happen, because it's a big deal to need to remove the full concrete parking lot, because it's a massive financial undertaking for us. You know, it's not easy. I can't empty out my pockets with another 20 grand after spending 40 to 50 to get us here right now. And what we're prepared to do is move forward with a redevelopment. We want to just, whatever we have left, let's put it into something new, shiny, great for everybody here. It's going to have a couple tenants, bring in a lot of good traffic into that area. But, you know, that's the main thing, is we want to be able to we want to close this case out. I'm sure you've seen enough of me come here over the last handful of months. You guys are probably tired of seeing this address on your agenda. So my hope is that we can just wrap this up. I have the, Mr. McLaurin, last November, I believe, I submitted him my final draft for about 4,000 square foot building for redevelopment. He says it looks good. And from that point, it was mainly waiting on getting the new survey. That took a lot of time. That's aside the point. But mainly, it's just, you know, if we can expedite a building permit, we can have this all taken care of. And like the owner said, if the issue is ponding for water or anything like that, we can fill it with dirt. That's not a problem either. But we would like to kind of close this chapter out and move forward just to keep everything okay. You know, I mean, this just has been quite a burden on us, and I'm sure you all as well, this whole city, it seems. So that's, you know, just kind of the direction we're really hoping to be able to go.
So for clarification, let me ask staff, was the original order repair or demolish?
The original order was to demolish in 30 days.
Demolish? It wasn't to repair or demolish?
Just demolish.
Just demolish. Had it been repair or demolish, would the first step of that process be to demolish the building, if that were the case, to start a full repair, which would be a little odd for starting from nothing but a parking lot? Would that be a reasonable assumption?
It would be, yes. The parking lot itself, what we're talking about here is technical language in the code, and technical language is included in your standard order language. Mm-hmm. So staff's not making an argument that the condition of the parking lot is any particular situation, other than the photos you've been shown. What staff is required to hold true to is what the commission's order language states and what the code requirements are for the completion of a demolition and final through the inspections department. So does that
Well, let me ask you
help the
this.
conversation at all?
If our owner here What's your plan? You have plans for this property already? Do you have, what's the status of those?
Yeah, there is a full set of architectural drawings, right? Preliminary drawings that we have submitted to all the just pre-development meetings, and then after the initial one, it was a good while ago, but I was in communication with Mr. McLaurin in the the development coordinator about making it work. You know, there was an issue with some use space or interior storage space in the parking lot, something like that on our designs. But eventually, we came to a resolution where I submitted it. He said, looks good to me. You can submit it through for a proper building permit. And at that point, we realized the city at that time did not have a survey on file for that property. So we had to go through a rather arduous process to acquire a new survey for the property, spend however much money. And so then it kind of snowballed, or that kind of got pushed to the side due to, the demolition order, everything happening there. We were like, okay, well, the drawings are ready, but let's, I guess, finish this out. Let's knock the building down. Once it's down, we can submit the permit for rebuilding, right? We can submit the building permit, but after knocking it down, it's like, okay, you still need to knock more down. So it's like, now it's just the can just keeps getting kicked down the road. And we would prefer to, we're ready whenever you are. It's if I submit the building permit tomorrow morning, I can submit all the documents, whatever documents I have, we can get the ball rolling, not a problem at all. We're more than willing to do that.
Any questions here?
Yeah. Is your new building going in the footprint of the old building?
No, sir. I can show you a photo of it right here on this. It's going to be on my phone. Admittedly, I do not have a physical copy of it right now, but I can show you kind of the design that it's going to be. So the building will be on the back half of the property. I'm not sure what direction that would be. So as you can see, it would be on the back half of the property. This front half right here is currently the parking lot, the remaining parking lot. And the foundation spot that is empty right now, we can fill it with dirt for the time being while we go through the process of the building permit, whatever the city obviously would require. But after that, we would fill it with concrete, same, and then start developing the back half, dig out all the dirt, everything, do the concrete, and then from there, place the building, which I'll zoom in. Right now, we have it at about 4,700 square feet to accommodate 3, potentially 4 tenants, right? So it should be great for the school that's across the street, church next door. There's all the apartments right next door as well. So it should really be able to bring a lot of life into that area, with as busy as Shady Grove already is. So, yeah, so we can still save this parking lot. We don't have to wait.
Could you speak to the microphone, please?
Yes, sorry. I guess I'll just leave this here. So yeah, we can save the parking lot and just, kind of get a jump on everything. The building's already down. We can fill it with dirt. That's not the problem. And we get the ball rolling. Submit all the paperwork, the building permit. It'll take however long building permits take, so, but we can have everything rolling. We have our own teams for construction, for demolition. Very different. It was a lot harder to figure out, but, we can make this work, as quickly as we need to just, get it done with, get started, because, we haven't had anything from this property except a deficit since last May. So we are eager to also, start getting something back.
Is this the property where somebody ran into the building?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It was a juvenile. They got a DUI, stole a truck in Grand Prairie, proceeded to T-bone another truck, and then roll into our building. So from there, absolutely no help from any insurance company, anybody at all. They have all kind of just left us for ourselves. So that's why this has been such a difficult process for us.
Do you know how thick the existing slab is? Like, is it adequate to be a parking lot?
Yeah, it should be adequate.
About 6 inches.
I believe it would be, yeah.
Mr. Diller, is there any issue with, I guess, classifying that as like a possible parking lot or something like that? That way they don't have to take on that burden? Because I know concrete's very expensive.
No, I understand.
Demoing it and pouring it back is a very high burden.
Absolutely. No, and I understand their request. Myself specifically, and code enforcement generally, aren't the department that would weigh in on the design or the need. It sounds like they are engaged with the inspections department and the development coordinator there, Wade McLaren. And do you have a building permit application in with the design that or are you still in pre-design discussions?
I've submitted it to him personally in via email. I believe I have submitted a building permit application before, but I think it was just, it wasn't able to go through all the way through because of, XYZ issues with the drawing.
Okay.
But, I mean, I have the MGO, on my iPad, right? It would take just a few moments to submit something through.
Okay. Do you have a time frame in mind for when you feel like you're going to be complete with the design and be submitting the building permit?
The design, as for right now, is ready. The last file I submitted to Wade was just personally because I didn't want to start the building permit process to go through all the departments to just have them keep rejecting it. So he was nice enough to let me just kind of send it back and forth with me and him to be like, I think this should be good enough to go all the way through. So as far as when to submit it, like I said, I could do first thing in the morning.
So I'm going to exercise a good Texanism here. Sometimes it's hard to unring the bell without our legal counsel to advise us. I'm going to ask our legal counsel to advise us about the previous order. The order was to demolish under the code, and the code required removal of everything, or
correct, degrade. Yes.
Get it down to dirt, right? So I guess there's a couple of options. Either the demolition is still in progress and there was a little pause because they tripped over something out there and couldn't get to the slab after they got the building done. Or is there a way that we amend that order so that we can, comply with our order? Could y'all help us out with that, threading the needle?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to start by answering your last question first. Yes, the action order from November 19th, 2025 is still available to be amended. If you wanted to amend the action section at the bottom of page 493, you could do so.
Okay. So I'm going to ask another question. If we take that action, does that cause any issue? Because it sounds like there's plenty of other legal help on their side with insurance companies and things like that. Is there any problem there?
I can't necessarily speak to that piece of it, but I would offer up if Mr. Boyle is amenable to a moment for another option. Certainly, if the intent of amending your November order would be to remove that provision related to, being clear to grade, an alternative option would simply be to close the case. Either would be fine. If you determine that they have sufficiently met your obligations, and I certainly will let your attorney step in should he disagree, but staff would alternatively propose a order to close.
I still think the bell rang. So, Mr. Boyle, we can have a suggestion for a motion here?
First, you do have a motion on the floor that's been seconded.
Right.
So we talked about that a little bit during your
we did.
training session.
We're going to practice this for the first time.
And then secondly, either of those options remains in effect. The only question I think you may wish to consider is a question of staff that in either of those scenarios, in either your amendment of your November 19, 2025 order, pursuant to your discussions, or declaring the case closed for compliance, the question I think you may wish to ask city staff is given the language in Chapter 8, if you did either one of those proposed actions, would that allow the remaining concrete to remain in place without the enforcement and applicability of those provisions from Chapter 8, because otherwise your action to close the case for compliance may be moot and ineffective as to what you're trying to achieve? And I think and maybe you can also just clarify, I think the hole in the middle where the dirt is and the water is ponding is where the building used to be.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, so the foundation for the building is gone.
Is gone, yes.
Okay, so that part's been done, but what's been left is the paving. So just for.
So.
And also
if-
the hole not brought to grade.
Right.
So the whole, and the issue is fundamentally that needs to be addressed is the hole's not been brought to grade, and as such, that's where the ponding was pictured.
If I may offer this in the outline of this, if closure is what the commission decides, staff would simply understand that. We would obviously not bring it back to building and standards because that case would be closed. We would then turn it to a property standards issue and work with the owner and the inspections department to get them through their inspection process. And if that department, their engineers and all that agree that the slab can be used as a parking lot, then that would be something they could put under and it'd become a part of the permit itself for the new build. So that is an option for us to take down as to, if you guys decide to close, we can work it as a property standards case for the remaining violations.
Mr. Chairman, given that you have a motion that was made by Commissioner Welch, seconded by Commissioner Dixon, you would need Commissioner Welch and Commissioner Dixon to agree to present a revised motion for your consideration to close the case for compliance.
I will have one piece of commentary to offer on that. My opinion is that it may not be appropriate to close the case because we still have a large hole in the ground that still needs to be brought to grade. It just needs to be brought to level. So the alternative option of simply amending the previous motion, not to allow for the concrete slab to remain rather than to close the case, may be the appropriate one to pursue, because we still have to determine that the property has at minimum been brought to grade and that we don't have a large hole in the ground with ponding water. That is my opinion on this.
And the only corollary, not to quibble, but the only corollary to that is exactly what Mr. Debris mentioned, is that hole in the ground will remain subject to enforcement by city staff, and if that enforcement is ineffective, they've always got the ability to bring it back to you. I would be sure surprised if it came to that. But you closing the case for compliance doesn't mean that the hole in the ground, if left unabated, would be unenforced, because it will absolutely be enforced on the property maintenance side of the city.
And
Understood. Thank you for that clarification.
And given staff's recommendation for the order to appear, that certainly would give the property owner time to either bring, to fill that hole or to begin construction on the new building. And should that be the case and the building permit has been issued and that work has begun, that would be something you could consider at your May meeting as well.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Let me see if, no, go ahead,
So
Mr. Welch. It looked like you were going to offer up
Parking
something.
lot currently,
Sorry?
the area you're talking about pouring in, is that a parking lot in there?
Yeah, the current area right now, is there a photo of the property from like an aerial perspective?
Well, all you need to do is just tell me.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so the front half of the parking lot, or the front half of the property is just concrete.
That hole is going to be part of the parking lot.
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, just, I don't know what the problem is. As long as you compact the fill, you put in there and put 4,000 pound concrete, you're in business.
Yeah, I think we should just be able to,
Go with the code.
we could just fill it with dirt and start on building something new. And, by, I guess however long it takes to build it, but, everyone will be happy by the end of it, I'm sure.
No, I just want to clarify, procedurally speaking, both remind that we need to remove that other motion, correct? Or
You may wish to have a vote on the motion, because what that motion would be is just a simple order to appear at the commission's May 27th, 26th meeting, which may be the perfect middle ground between the concerns raised by Commissioner Baker and the concerns raised by the others relative to the outstanding paving.
So does anybody wish to amend the previous motion? Well, first we need to ask our firsters and our seconders if they would allow that the motion to be amended.
Yes.
Could you speak into the microphone, please? Mr. Welch, do you have a?
Okay, lost track. I agree with whatever you just said.
Okay, so
Commissioner Welch, you have made a motion to adopt staff's recommended order, which just orders the property owners to appear at the May 27th, 26th meeting of the commission.
I remember that.
So that's your motion that's been made. It was seconded by Commissioner Dixon. And absent you and Commissioner Dixon moving to and adopting a revision to that motion, that's what's currently on the floor for a vote.
So do we have a vote on any other discussion on this item? It sounds like we're settling in around just the order to appear at the May meeting. Okay, I think we got that straight. So we don't have to do anything else with that, Mr. Boyle?
Well, it does need to be voted on.
Okay, so I was going to call it to that. I just want to make sure. So let's call a vote on the item. Motion passes. So you guys come back to see us in May and bring some good news to us.
Will do. Thank you.
So that's our last item. I just wanted to recognize our new code enforcement, code, was it code enforcement or code inspector?
Code enforcement specialist, Ricardo.
Code enforcement specialist, thank you for joining us and look forward to you being here with us. Y'all are a great part of our team.
Yes.
The meeting is closed. Adjourned.